Hey, this is 012 Boku and
And I'm Mike Mayan, here for a good night of anime wrestling review action.
quite so. We are here back with you again. Sorry it's been a while. Busy lives in the two of us. And also when you work a lot. So, hey. But we are here to give you the next episode review of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. We are up to 15. And it is the Envoy of the East.
Xing Jao!
Yes,
yeah, if you get the joke, you know
Jao.
what I'm talking about.
Yep. And also as well, what this one deals with is we have the Elrics coming back to
let me see. What's that
town? I'm now blanking on the town too.
Oh, what was it? Not Dublin. Dublin?
No, not Dublin. That's where Izumi is. Izumi Curtis is. No. Rush Valley.
Yeah, Rush Valley.
They come back to Rush Valley and they're here to visit Winry. Little do they know that while they're there visiting Winry and Edward getting his arm repaired, which he gets abused by Winry yet again, sort of can understand, also feel bad for him, but hey. They run into an envoy in this one, a person from Xing, who is a prince named Xing Jao, who is here trying to discover the ways of immortality through the Philosopher's Stone because he wants to improve his standing with the Emperor who is sick. And I don't know if Xing Jao was going to use it on himself or if he was going to give it to his father to improve his time to become the Emperor, but that's why he's here to get it.
Yeah, and funny thing about his name being Xing Jao, we kind of looked this up, and apparently, like, the translation for that is like elixir, or elixir or immortality or something like that. And he's looking for the Philosopher's Stone because he wants to become immortal, which again draws back the parallels between Eastern and Western philosophy on alchemy. Westerners wanted to use it for either infinite knowledge or to transmutate lead to gold. The Easterners, aka the Asians, wanted to create an elixir of immortality. And on the way, he mentions how they cut through the desert to get to the ruins of Xerxes to look for information. And again, Xerxes, Greek much?
Yep. And of course, all tied into the true lore of the Philosopher's Stone throughout our own history. So nicely done, Hiromu Arikawa, and as well, creators of the show. The other parts that we see is that Scar kills another alchemist, state alchemist by the name of Joliot Camache, and takes him out right at the beginning. And we see Scar come back injured, where a little girl, Xiao Mei, is there, like, wanting to get information on, the way to Central 2, and possibly we were to assume she's after the same thing. And also, Yoki is there trying to apparently think of delusions of grandeur that he's going to turn Scar into Central and get the money and his reputation back from the Elrics. Again, for those of you who've not seen the original show, if you're watching these reviews, you have to see the original show and possibly read the manga, what goes on, because they just sort of threw Yoki in here, and yeah, it's a little stupid, but they're probably thinking, oh, everybody's seen it, hopefully.
Yeah, and they kind of just glance over the fact that he wants to get it back at the Elrics because they ruined his life, which, in the first series, you actually get to see that. In the second series, it's just like, yeah, I just want revenge on the Elrics because they ruined my life.
Which is actually, that episode in the original and in the manga, it is a real cool episode. I know people consider it filler, but, it works. And you'll probably hear me talk about it within a lot of the original series too, because the original series did have quite a bit of filler, but I enjoyed a lot of the filler episodes too because they were fun and whatnot. But again, a little side tangent there. And also, as we see, Xiao Mei helps Scar out with his injury, and they're heading to Central, to where we also learn that Scar doesn't care about the consequences of what he's doing. He keeps believing he can't go back. His name is forsaken. The way of his people for himself is forsaken. So he just wants to take out all the state alchemists to get revenge for what happened to Ishvala.
Yeah, there's actually a great little exchange between him and Yauki where Yauki says, excuse me, sir, but I don't believe I've gotten your name yet. And he's like, in Ishvalan, names are considered blessed gifts from the god. It's like, oh, well, yours must be a blessed one. I have forsaken it. And this is basically his way of saying he has renounced his claims to God and the way of his people, all for the sake of revenge.
Yeah, but also claiming to do this in the name of God, which is quite the. I mean, it's funny because if you go back to the episode we told you before, quite hypocritical of him to do because his master even says, what you're doing makes us sad. It makes people who follow our religion sad. It's going to make your brother sad. And they tell basically the true way of vengeance. It never makes anyone happy. And again, Scar knows this is not going to lead to happiness, but he thinks his anger is just so huge that it doesn't matter. And that's a little nice side thing as well.
Plus, it's really sad because, while Xiao Mei is healing him, she notices the tattoos on his arm, and she's actually using like Eastern alchemy, which is what they call alchemy in their lands. And she's looking at his scar and at his tattooed arm, and she can read, and she knows what it is, reading the scales of the dragon to decipher the truth of all things. So you can tell this girl knows her shit.
Well, and we hear from Scar that his brother was studying alchemy and alchemy, so his arm is a mix of both. And that's a cool little tidbit too. And I believe they go into that in greater detail later on, which they do in both versions. Brotherhood gives you a lot more though, because they only went so far, and they can only go so far in the original show because the manga wasn't finished yet. But either way, hey, I still like both. And there's a third little thing that we can give you guys here that happened in the show before we get into the bigger parts of the characters and our final thoughts in the episode. And it's where Barry the Chopper, number 66, as they also call him in this, comes out of nowhere to attack
Risa Hawkeye.
Risa Hawkeye. She's walking her dog, Black Hayate, at night. And, if you guys have seen the original show, Barry the Chopper was a dangerous individual, a psychopath, someone to be feared. In this, and I mean no disrespect to Romy Arakawa, I guarantee this is right from your manga, he's a joke.
Yeah.
An absolute joke. And it's funny, don't get me wrong, I find it funny, but after seeing the original first and then I see this, give me the original Barry the Chopper where he's actually a danger and not comedy relief.
They basically turned him into like Dan Hibiki a la Alphonse Elric.
Yeah. Well, although Alphonse Elric is better than Barry the Chopper by leagues, but yeah, that's what happens. And apparently, Barry tries to attack her. She shoots him. He takes off the head thinking it's going to intimidate her, but then she shoots his head again. And then she's like, you're like Alphonse Elric. And he's like, oh yeah, that Elric kid, I ran into him. And then she sort of attacks him again and just wants to know more questions. And then he apparently gives her these lovey-dovey hard eyes and falls in love with her because she's a tough woman. And I guess I could see that, but considering how he loved chopping women up and people, odd again, pretty much. Yeah. But hey. And then I don't know how. Apparently she takes him with the help of Vato Fallman and Colonel Roy Mustang, and he's tied up in a warehouse. And they're asking him questions about hey, is there anyone from the laboratory still alive? And he says, no, they were all used to make philosopher's stones, and everything that you want to know, they're all gone. You're not going to get anything of that. So they realize that, again, Barry the Chopper has a connection to this place, but Roy Mustang takes it one step further, and he's like, did you kill a officer in a phone booth about a month ago? And Barry's like, oh, did I? That doesn't ring a bell. Was he all chopped up? And then right then, Roy Mustang knows it wasn't him, so he closes his book, and they just leave him there for further questioning. And
you also kind of notice that his officers kind of have this look like they had no idea about this. So clearly, Roy's kept some information from them, but at the same time, it kind of looks like they're starting to understand he is that there's more going on.
Well, again, Risa Hawkeye knew a little bit more than Vato Fallman. Vato Fallman didn't know any of that, so that was probably a bigger shock for him.
Yeah.
But Risa Hawkeye knew a little bit, but still hearing her say that was shocking. Plus, I think for Risa Hawkeye, it was more the fact of, yeah, I know Roy is out for vengeance, and Roy Mustang is going to do what he can to find his killer. So Vato Fallman was probably true shock for Risa it was like, oh shit, he's not going to let this go.
Plus, we also kind of neglected to mention that Xiao Mei, the cute little Chinese girl with the tiny adorable panda in her hair, she's got the hots for Edward. Yeah, we see this scene where she's like imagining what he looks like as this tall, handsome, blonde, dignified alchemist with a long red coat. And I have to imagine, her being from Xing, which is like this world's equivalent to China. Him being a well established state alchemist who wears a red coat and is famous for helping people along the way. She's probably thinking of him as like this handsome hero of justice, because like in China, red is considered the color of luck and good fortune.
Yeah. And that's a nice thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, I know I'm just trying to brush through it without going through huge amounts of telling you guys' stories, because sometimes I realize I get winded going through play-by-plays of each thing, so I give little breakdowns of the episode. But as far as characters in this one, I would have to say, everybody was good in it again. I have to give the edge to, I would say, Ling Yao for this episode, because Mamoru Miyano in Japanese and Todd Haberkorn in English, well played, well done voice work. The way the character's drawn and done is that, like when his eyes are closed, and again, not being racial or prejudicial, but that's how he's drawn. So typical Chinese, they make fun of that all the time in anime, a la Brock and Pokemon, if I need to take it further for other people who may know. And but that's where he's being jovial. When Ling Yao wants to get serious, his eyes actually open up, and that.
But
there's a sinister purpose behind him.
I have like two things to mention about that character and the guy who plays him. First, big props to Todd Haberkorn for actually playing the way Asians would handle these speeches correctly, because at first he plays himself off as like this goofy foreigner who doesn't understand this culture. But you can see he knows how to manipulate people using the idea that, oh, I'm from Xing, I do not understand, I don't speak this language, your ways are strange to me. But then when he starts getting hints that he might be able to get what he wants, again, like he said, his eyes open up a little, his tone shifts. So Todd Haberkorn fucking nailed that.
Yeah, and again, and also not forgetting you, Mamoru Miyano, you were just as good in it too, And you guys captured it both. But yeah, it was funny hearing both actors go, "Oh, me no understand, me not from this country, bye-bye." Now that was after.
But this one is exclusively for Mr. Haberkorn, because I don't know if One Two No Boku No Buddy here knows this, but Todd Haberkorn used to be the only person on Watch Mojo that I love to watch, because he used to do the top 10 lists until certain events, certain Me Also, hint, hint. But yeah,
Todd Haberkorn was Me Too.
They tried to, they didn't succeed because he's Todd fucking Haberkorn. But yeah, he was the only reason to watch that channel.
Well, for anime, that's the main thing he was a part of.
Yeah, and let me just say, Mr. Haberkorn, love you, great. You, Mr. Vic Mignogna, need more. Monica Rial, not so much.
Well, remember, Todd Haberkorn's still been around. He does Seven Deadly Sins and things like that. Like, his career's still good. Vic Mignogna's, though, yeah, he's been ostracized. There's no doubt about it. If you look him up now, they're still saying to this day he still struggles to get work, and he still tries to go to conventions, but a lot of conventions across the country won't let him in because of that whole Me Too thing. And yes, Monica Rial, you're a great voice actress, but you were one of the biggest charges, along with there were two other big names that I heard and knew. And again, I think the couple of voice actors that came to him, and I think they're on here, are Travis Willingham. I think Jerry Jewell was another one. I think Kyle LeBear was another one to come to his aid. And there was another Travis Willingham's wife, wife, that's correct, said the right thing. Laura Bailey was the one to come to his side too. So there were a few people who said it. And again, if you guys, it was pretty buried. I had to go through like 5 different articles before I found it, but they have the court case of Vic Mignogna, and I don't mean to turn this into a political thing, but I think we said in earlier up one of these things too, but Vic Mignogna was not charged. He beat the charges. I know Monica Rial and a few other people were not happy with that, but it is what it is, and clearly he didn't do it. And I mean, here's what I'll say, folks. The voice acting community is just like Hollywood. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of like huge things. And remember, too, these guys aren't just voice actors. They're Broadway performers. They're stage performers. So probably a lot of ego involved in the industry, too.
I'll just say this. Uncle Crow spread his wings to take the sweet air of freedom. Because let's face it, who wants to hang around Monica Rial these days?
And speaking of Vic Mignogna, I need to get the An Angel on collection because that was a good show too.
Yes.
And beautifully voiced by the child version of the year, voiced by Kevin Korn, who was a young voice actor who I don't know what happened to you, but I miss you, Kevin Korn. You were really good in your own right. And Vic Mignogna played the angel part of him when he would go all suave and hey criminal. And
Mr. What's his name? Mr. Dark or something like that.
Mr. Dark, yeah, Mr. Dark, that was his name. And yeah, so that's really cool. So yeah, Xing Jao was a character that I really enjoyed. And I mean, a lot of the characters were good, but basically he's the one that stood out the most to me. Jherick, how about you? Did anyone else? Because I mean, Xiaomei was cool, but I know we get more with Xiaomei later on that'll probably make her more noteworthy than what we got in this episode. But I mean, how about you?
I'll have to say for me, again, as Buddy Noboku here said, Ling Yao, number one. Number two would be Barry the Chopper, because short as his time was, that man stole the show. And number
three. Well, actually, go into that, Jherick. I'm curious.
Well, I mean, you know how expressive, how emotive, energetic. I mean,
the comedy, yeah. Jerry. Well, let's see. To give them their due credit, where are they here? Hideyuki Umezu and Jerry Jewell. Well done, guys. Well done with your acting and working with how the characters reacted. And you guys are really good at what you do.
And although we didn't exactly get to hear much of her in this episode, seeing Winry's reaction, seeing Edward's auto mill get destroyed as much as it did in this episode, classic.
Megumi Takamoto, Caitlin Glass, thanks to Jherick. Shout out to you guys. Well done as well. And plus great comedy from both of you guys across the board. Plus animators, how you drew Winry's reaction. I don't know that Japanese demon Oni god there, but that was funny the first time she sees it and it's all like red, and then Edward's laying there dead on the ground with the blood from the wrench.
Now that you mention it, that's a funny thing. If I remember, the name Yaoki is a type of yokai demon, like a type of Akuma class demon.
That's what it was. That was an Akuma demon, yeah.
And as I recall, that was what appeared behind Winry when she got angry the first time.
Mm-hmm. See, I was wondering, that looked like Akuma from Street Fighter, but yeah, is that the name? And I remember that is the name of the demon. They just call him Akuma in Street Fighter.
And
which, believe me, when we get to Street Fighter 2V, we will point out all the random Akuma sightings.
And not only that, just a strange little aside for you Two-Who fans out there. Yaomu's grandfather's name is Yaoki Kenpaku. Coincidence? I think not.
Indeed. And so, I mean, well done, Jherick. He got more. He obviously found more than I did. But again, for me, like I said, Xing Jao was the biggest one to me that stood out. So,
I mean, he's been missing like her whole childhood. It said he's not in Gensokyo. He's a swordsman. I don't know. Maybe he got transmuted into a piece of armor and he went on a killing spree because he misses his granddaughter.
Indeed.
Doo-doo.
And then let's see. Final thoughts on a good episode, introducing more characters to the plot, knowing that this is bigger than related to their country or more people know about it, which could create interesting niches. Xiaomei and Xing Jao possibly being an ally, or could they possibly be villains? They play that nice little, we're allies right now, but is there more to us in what we see? Xiaomei doesn't seem like the type, but they've done that with characters before so far in the series where they don't seem threatening, and then there's something more a la vis-a-vis Fuhrer Bradley, Wrath the Furious, because you think, this guy's just in charge, and like there's that. And then, since I brought that up really quick, I'll bring that up too. If you guys noticed in the last episode, we were talking about how even though Jherick clarified it for me, how it would make sense how the Elric brothers would start suspecting that Fuhrer Bradley would be a part of something, they brought up to Xing Jao how their country has had constant skirmishes and war, and I'm surprised that didn't start making them think right there, Philosopher's Stones, Laboratory 5. Oh,
And not only that,
maybe.
but Edward himself specifically brings this up in that conversation. Recently alchemy has been more or less weaponized for war ever
Yeah.
since King Bradley took over.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna have to. But yeah, you captured the line right there. So thank you for that little extra help. And I mean, yeah, it's just funny how Alphonse or Edward didn't have the light click on right there, and that's like, seriously, guys, you just said the one thing you guys probably could have suspected Fear Bradley to say. And I think in the original, it's not the Elrics to pick up on that. It's oh yeah, I think it's Red Mustang who mentions it in the original series that yeah, we've been at constant war since Fear Bradley took office. And hey, makes sense given how he's half human, half homunculi, or an aging homunculus, however you want to call him. So either way, cool bits of stuff. And I mean, again, it brings the characters into light, and also I like how we got with Scar that he looks at himself as a lost cause, that his vengeance is the only thing that's left, and that was a nice little tidbit for him to do. And I mean, it's funny how he's with Yoki and Xiao Mei, but he's just like, I'm letting you guys be with me just because, but I guarantee if Xiao Mei and Yoki got in his way, he would not hesitate to kill them, because for him, the means justify the end. And I believe that's correct.
And isn't it kind of funny that he's traveling with Yoki, a guy who's angry with two alchemists, and probably, and we know has no love for the Ishvalans, but here he is bowing and scraping before an Ishvalan to get his vengeance.
And basically an ex-military exile too, because he was exiled from the military when because in the original and in the manga, Yoki is extorting his position, and that's what gets him exiled from the military, is because he was an extortionist, and that's what got him expelled, and that's what he's trying to get a vengeance for. And yeah, here's this little girl he's traveling with, and it's just funny how it comes in. So I liked that little thing too. Other than those two things, it's a nice setup for what comes next, and I think I know why they did it, because we won't go into the next episode, but the next episode has them going back to Central, and it seems like they're going to find out the truth about Colonel Hughes. So yeah, this episode was probably an icebreaker before we got to the next one, because this episode was still a lot of fun. Xiao Mei was fun, Ling Yao was fun, even though there were a bit more sinister complications. We don't really get to see what Ling Yao does yet, but his two attendants, let's see, Old Man Fu and Lan Fan, very talented ninja, took on the Elrics without hesitation. They didn't mind fighting on. They were both shocked that they could do alchemy without a transmutation circle, but they still got away on their own. And Lan Fan hates it when somebody insults Ling Yao, so it's funny to see him receive. And
it's actually
very fun episode.
It's actually great because you see that basically the Elrics can't really beat them in a fair, like, hand-to-hand fight because they're too skilled, but of course, Edward, being the smart, the clever little boy he is, he figures out that all he has to do is insult their master, and they blow their cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Old Man Fu, but Lan Fan definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely did it. But again, I don't mean to spoil for you guys, but I think Lan Fan, if I remember correctly, I think she's got the hots for him. I think that's why.
Yeah, and it also kind of sets up a odd little thing. Like I said, we know the Elrics are badasses. They can hold their own against almost anyone.
That is very
true. And these two were just almost too much for both of them. They had to resort to traps and trickery.
Yep.
And as good as they are, I have to imagine Ling Yao is probably holding back. He would be better because we find out he's a prince. Or rather, I should say he's one of 12 princes among 24 different children.
Yeah, absolutely. And, or he's the 12th prince in line to 24 children. There you go. And either way, good stuff that it enters in. And pretty much you have our final thoughts on it. And you have our characters. And that's pretty much the breakdown of the episode really quick. So again, have you guys been enjoying the ride? What do you guys think about it so far? And if you haven't, I would say check out Brotherhood. And also if you finished Brotherhood, or if you haven't done it in reverse, or if you want to start with the original show, which I would suggest you do since that did come first, watch the original, then go watch Brotherhood. Both are good shows, and just leave a comment down in the selection or section, see what you think, and just let me know. And let Jherick know too if you want, because we both sort of share the channel now since he's my partner in crime here, Jherick. And I'm not possessed by anybody this time. Probably by the next review I will be, but hey.
Well, until the cops find all the evidence. Oops, did I say that out loud again?
Yes, you did. Shut up, you. And, just let us know what you guys think. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing from you guys. And until then, this is Owantu Boku.
This is Zhao 76.
Jherick. And we will see you guys again. Thanks for watching, and deuces.
Deuces.